Hello, I'm Oral Gibbs, and this is Oral Gibbs Live. I have a very interesting guest you'll find out after I tell you about the sponsors. Windward Islands Bank, the Windward Islands Bank in Phillipsburg, in Cul-de-sac, and also in Simpson Bay. For all your banking needs is the Windward Islands Bank. And GEBE, our local water and electricity company. That's GEBE, serving St. Martin for over 6 decades. And with me this day, right here on Earl Gibbs Live, a very interesting guest. And we also have to remind you that you can see this program on Hot 99, not see it, but listen to it on Hot 99.9 FM radio. I'm so accustomed to television, using radio now as television, but that's Hot 99.9 FM radio station, and also on our YouTube channel. And if you subscribe to Oral Gibbs YouTube, you'll know when we upload the show or when we are live, and you'll know that before everyone else. My guest on the program is the Ombudsman of St. Martin, Ms. Mossel. How are you doing, ma'am?
Hi, Oral. I am doing good, Mr. Gibbs. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, it's good to have you in the program. How are things going? You make a lot of trouble? So you don't expect me to put it like that, right?
Yeah, some people call it trouble. Others say, hey, you're doing a good job. Continue. Yeah, actually, it is just doing what I was appointed to do. Yes, in 2019, I was appointed 2.5 years, and still doing what I need to do. As I always say, we are not supervisory, we are helping or assisting Parliament in their supervisory role.
Right.
And as such, our task as the Ombudsman is to investigate complaints filed by the public. We make a report and we report to Parliament. And it is up to Parliament then to look at the reports and hold the respective ministers responsible to make sure that they execute the recommendations or whatever is requested in the report to pay attention to.
You know, the reason why when I introduced you, I said making trouble is that because politicians never like the Ombudsman. You know, they always see the Ombudsman as an institution that is a pain to them. But the public needs this office that you represent because it's important to carry out the functions that are necessary in any democracy.
That is true. And, you know, it is not only St. Martin, but really most of the Ombudsman institutions have the same. You often hear about Ombudsman under threat in various other countries where, of course, politics is something totally different than, you know, when you show them where the aches are and where changes have to be made, it is different than when you, for instance, what we have realized, what I said the last time is that when they are in Parliament, they are praising of the Ombudsman, but when they are in the executive branch, they tend to change and, you know, see the Ombudsman as more a pain or difficult. But if we understand our system where we are assisting you, where I always use the phrase that we are a critical friend, and friends are usually critical. And it is just to bring a change in promoting good governance. And it is never easy as our institution to address our complaints, etc., because it could come over in a different way with the executive branch. However, it is a task that we have to do. We are assisting, as I said already before. If we want our system to work, you hold responsible, I think that we would be in a better place today. I think good governance will be something that we are really working towards. Many of our reports, had Parliament really done their due diligence, we would have been a far way along right now. And a lot of things would have been dealt with. And of course, you would say, hey, we have been doing this for years, but there is a time that you have to do it the right way. And that it is a time to put policies in place to go according to regulations and, of course, in the interest of the public. That is what it is about. The Ombudsman investigates propriety. Did the government acted the conduct of government in relations with the public, was it proper? And we base this on standards of proper conduct that we have, which are in international standards of good administration. And holding government accountable, of course, it's not nice. It's not nice. But if you embrace it as, hey, we are working towards good governance, then you can accept it, work on it, and do fulfill the recommendations, and then you will see that it works, that it really works, instead of going against the grind, actually.
You said earlier that if Parliament had done their due diligence, can you explain that?
In the past, we have many reports, also systemic investigations, where even with myself, I could give an example with the Ministry of Vromi. As of 2019, we actually addressed the situation with the Ministry of Vromi, with capacity and the necessary expertise, where we are seeing that they are not able to respond to the public in a timely manner, or not at all.
Right.
From 2019, we addressed it. In 2021, we also duly addressed and informed Parliament of this, with the request, of course, to do something about it. And we are now in 2022, and our year report 2021 is coming out. We are finalizing that right now. And we see that we have an increase in complaints against the Ministry of Vromi. We have 66 complaints, of which half is attributed to the Ministry of Vromi. And a lot has to do with the lack of capacity, expertise, and we have also heard from persons working in the ministry, the lack of guidance, leadership, policies. That is the cause of not being working effectively and efficiently. We have addressed it, as I said, from 2019. We are now in 2022, and we are seeing the results of that Parliament didn't do anything about it. And you see this, that the complaints have increased up to now. I could say that it is very difficult to get responses, and it is not fair to the public. It is the public, the people are the one that are not being heard and are not getting, for instance, whatever permit they have requested. We are trying our best, even through information windows now then, because it's a structural issue. It has become virtually a halt in getting responses, to our investigations, or even the public getting responses to their letters or requests. So what we try to do, even to avoid going to a complaint, is trying to call the head of the department and work with them to see if they could still address the issue, so that it doesn't have to become a complaint, because it's a long trajectory where they do not answer. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I understand. But I think, and I'm going to say this here on this program, because I've been around a long time. I use this word a lot. It's important that government serve the public. What I'm hearing from a lot of people these days is that there's a real high level of corruption when it comes to building permits. Those who can afford to pay the amount gets their permit early. Those that cannot wait a long, long time. Now, you as the ombudsman for St. Martin, have you heard similar stories?
No one has come to the ombudsman to file any complaint or give information of such. Just like you hear it in the community that these sort of activities go on, but no one has come to the ombudsman regarding that. But I could imagine that, not that it is right, of course, but I could imagine that it will end up that way if you want to build, you have put in a request for your building permit, you have invested, and you have been waiting for months, sometimes years, for your permit, and you need to start. That at a certain point, those who have the money, that they are willing to do such activities. But that is not to say that it is right. But again, like you said, how have I seen that Parliament is not doing their due diligence? Is because up to now the situation within Vromi is the same way. It's only deteriorating. So something has to be done in order to overcome these type of situations to take place.
You know, I had the minister responsible for Vromi here in this program. At the time when I had him here, I didn't have the real proof on that part with the corruption that's taking place when it comes to license. Now I do, in terms of what's happening and who got what and the speed that it got it. But let's leave that out, because at that time I would have asked him about it. Because we live in a community where our citizens are constantly being passed over by everyone else. And people feel helpless. They see your office as an office where at least there's some last recourse.
Yeah.
But they're not going to come forward because they don't really know the details of some of the things that are happening. All they know is that, hey, this guy is getting his permit very quickly, and I have to wait months. And sometimes, some people even years. Now, you can't blame this current Mr. Perceived for that, but it is a serious problem. And that's why I asked you earlier if you had received complaints, because I know you're not going to receive complaints because people are not going to do it. They're afraid.
No. But one of the with the standards of proper conduct, the adequate organization of services is one of the highest amount that we have. So the service to the public is really on a low. That is something that really has to be looked into. We all have been hearing capacity, but it is time to do something about it.
When they said they're going to do something, they're hiring new people. The minister said that here a few weeks ago, that they're going to hire new people.
Okay, well, that is a very good step.
Yeah.
Let's hope that that is so. Parliament should ask accountability for this, and that is how the system works. Hey, the Ombudsman has identified these bottlenecks. What is being done about it? That is how it works. But if the Ombudsman is identifying bottlenecks, issuing reports, expressing, where there is lack within ministries, and it is not being addressed by Parliament, then all we have is a report.
Well, there's this saying that the Ombudsman is a toothless tiger.
Yeah, we hear that all the time. I would say there is a system, democratic system, and it can work if every part does its share.
Right.
So that is how I see it.
I know you have a lot of things, but I want to ask you about the systemic investigation that was taking place. First, if you can explain for my audience, which is very important, what is a systemic investigation?
Okay, a systemic investigation is our own motion investigation. That is an investigation that the Ombudsman decides that she will do an investigation on her own. It doesn't have to be that there is a complaint filed. It could be based on...
It's unsolicited in a way.
Yes, correct. Concerns within the community. But oftentimes it is based on a complaint. One person that filed a complaint, and when we look at that complaint and we see, hey, this is either structural or it it has to do with the general public, not only this person. We would say, hey, in the interest of the general public, we will go over to an own motion, and we take it broader than just that complaint what was filed, and we will look at the different policies, the different areas that have caused these bottlenecks that we have then identified. And a systemic investigation usually takes more time than a regular complaint because it is an in-depth investigation where we will investigate all areas. We investigated the awarding and the tendering of the solid waste collection 2021 to 2026.
Was that unsolicited or?
That it is own motion, but we had two complaints that were filed where they asked information from the ministry, and we have two that we call information windows where lawyers send us the letter that they send to government asking for questions or asking for further information. Based on those complaints, we approached the minister to ask, and we asked further questions. We also asked for more information and documentation. And the minister was reluctant. It was a little back and forth regarding the information, whether I said we need to have the complete file at our office. The minister was offering for us to have inzage, so to go by government to go and look into the documents there. That is not for the minister to say what on how I should conduct my investigation based on our procedures, and with all the documentation, it would not be feasible as well to go at the minister's office to sit and look at documents. So we said, no, we need a complete file, and otherwise we cannot move forward. And after a little back and forth, finally, we did receive the file, and in going through and reviewing the file, there were some things that we identified. And this is actually, let me back up. So this is just a complaint from two contractors. Based on that complaint, we requested the information. And when we finally received the information, we reviewed the information, and based on what we saw in that review, we decided to do a systemic investigation. And we closed the regular complaint, and then we went into the systemic investigation. And we did that by doing hearings. We convened a hearing where we invite the staff of, actually the evaluation committee, which consisted of the staff of the infrastructure department and cabinet members, the head of the department, and we also had hearings with the minister and the secretary general regarding questions that we had. Based on the hearings, we received more information, and it appeared that we did not receive the full information that we asked, a complete file, as an important document was missing, which is a completeness form document that is based on Chapter 10 of the TOR, Terms of Reference, whereby that is the first important check to see if you have all the documents. If you are missing any document, that means to say you are automatically disqualified.
Is it true that the terms of reference was very quickly put together?
Yes, that is something that is one of the bottlenecks that we have highlighted, that based on the time, they were pressed for time, that everything just went very fast. I mean, the report shows the different causes that have allowed the whole awarding process to be what it is.
Ombudsman, don't they have lawyers assigned to review the terms of reference?
That is usually the way that it is done. It would go through to their legal or legal affairs. It appears that according to the hearings, that it did pass through legal affairs and the legal, but maybe the time frame for them to look at it was very short because they had to start already, with the awarding process, the process, the tender process. And I guess it just everything went very fast. And yes?
The reason why I'm a little confused is that you're a lawyer too. You know, a lawyer is not just going to approve something that is poorly put together. So it seems that there's so many excuses here. And you know, when you sow confusion, this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's late or not is not an issue anymore, but you can see all the confusion. And within confusion thrives corruption also, because then you really can't trace things back. If it takes an orderly manner where everyone knows what they're supposed to do, but what I'm hearing, and I'm not blaming you, but what I'm hearing from Vromi is the excuse that they were pressed for time.
Yes, that is the main
that's
reason.
not a good excuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that is actually the starting point was pressed for time, in a hurry, and like we say, haste made waste. That is what you end up with.
Yeah, because the waste comes then that we, the taxpayers, are gonna have to pay for that waste.
Yes, well, eventually, but yeah, I believe that it really have to do with time. Also, the lack of capacity, whereby some of about 4 of the members of the committee remove themselves as well. So you have to continue with. I think it was 3.
3, yeah.
Yeah.
But sorry to interrupt you again, but I'm hearing this all through this government. It's not just Vromi. It's the entire government who's complaining, we have a capacity problem. So then again, if that's the case, then the entire government can plead their case, hey, look, we're governing, but we don't have the tools and the means to govern. And I think for the people of St. Martin, this is not right. They had sufficient ample time to fix this problem. So a year from now, we'll hear again that, okay, we have capacity problem, we didn't have time. This is not the way you govern. I don't know how you feel as Ombudsman.
I fully agree, because even with our cases with Vromi, we have said, it has become so structural that now we don't even want to hear any more capacity. Something needs to be done. The public deserve to be served. You are a government, and it is a very important ministry. I mean, all ministries are very important, and you have to be able to service the public adequately. Right. So you cannot use capacity as an excuse all the time, maybe for a time, but after that you have to do something about it. And this is where Parliament comes in again. It is something that needs to be dealt with structurally with all the departments. It is either capacity, expertise, budget that has always been the issues, but within with what you have, you should try to make it. I don't want to boast, but we have 6 persons working in our office. We have been there from 2010 to now. We have grown. We have so much work to do. There are many investigations to do, systemic investigations, cost time, and we have 2 investigators, 1 legal advisor, the Secretary General and Administrator, and we work very hard to do what we need to do. Yes, we need to expand as well. After 10 years, we need to expand our FTEs as well, but you do with what you have and you do your best. So you have to work with what you have and do what you have to do. So every time using the capacity, I think at a certain point in time, you cannot use that anymore.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, I just wanted to go over to other topic, but maybe you want to continue
Well,
with that.
what I want to add is that the Minister for Vromi issued a public news release after you published the information. And it gave the public a sense of a very combative relationship here, that it was not very cordial.
It is unfortunate that that was the response that was given. We gave the preliminary findings report to the minister. We gave him 3 weeks to look at it, to respond. The minister requested more time. We gave extra 3 weeks. Eventually, it took about 8 weeks that he had the time to review the report, and actually the response was very. It was too alineous to be, we have it in the report exactly what the response was, and stating that, hey, it is not objective or it's not complete, without mentioning exactly what is missing or what is not complete, or, we have there's so much content. Not one thing was mentioned exactly to say where something is wrong or what we had to look into. And we issued the final report. We sharpened certain areas where the minister maybe might have, it is like a guessing where he would want to see things differently. But the report is clear. It is based on facts. We have documentations. And regarding the documents, as I said, we never received those important documents. We also requested the internal findings report signed, copies of the signed internal findings reports, which is very important, because if you have an internal finding, and it stated that the committee stated it, but it is not signed by the committee, then we don't know if that is true. So that is a very important document that also was not provided. The minister also did not provide information regarding post-awarding, and the minister stated that it falls outside of the scope, which is not true, because post-awarding is also a part of the whole awarding process. It is chapter 14 of the TOR, and it is to check to see if you have complied with all that is necessary to do the work. And if not, then the department would have to put the contract in default, and there are rules and regulations that follow after that. And the information on the default, that was not provided. So to state and say that you have given all the information and worked with the Ombudsman, I cannot say that that is so.
So this report will just now go in a drawer and be forgotten? What do you think? Because
this is what it is. The Ombudsman has done her job. We done the investigation. We have a report with facts, findings, with documents to back it up, and we present it to Parliament. Parliament is the next step to deal with accountability. So the buck stopped actually with Parliament. We have done our work, and if Parliament doesn't do their due diligence, then that's it. The Ombudsman is not political. I am not going in any political back and forth. This is our task. That is what we have done. These are our findings, and it is up to Parliament.
Well, if you've just joined us, this is Oral Gibbs Live. I'm Oral Gibbs here with the Ombudsman. This is Mossel, and you're listening to us on Hot 99.9 FM radio station in Simpson Bay, or you're watching this program on YouTube, or you're also watching it on TV Carib. So when we come back, we'll continue here with Ombudsman. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
In order to know what you want out of life, you need to observe, listen, and try it yourself.
Promises, but we can make it if we work together. That's just how it is. Let's stand strong, oh, and serve the land. Working hard as one nation, yes we can. Yes we can.
The more difficult it is to achieve, the more satisfying it is to make it.
Just believe in us, we'll see you through it all. Oh, never give up. Oh, never give up. We can make it.
Never forget those who were there for you. And if you dream big, you might just achieve it.
The power to serve, standing for community. OGB, got the power to serve, the power to serve. We got the energy. OGB.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
My guest is Madam Ombudsman, Ms. Mossel. She's my guest on Oral Gibbs Live. And if you just tuned in, Oral Gibbs Live is on Hot 99.9 FM. We're also on YouTube, Facebook, TV Carib. And if you want to know when we do a show, when we upload a show, when we go live, just subscribe to Oral Gibbs YouTube channel, and then you will know before everyone else. All right. So again, if you've just joined us, I'm Oral Gibbs here on Oral Gibbs Live with the Ombudsman of St. Martin, Ms. Mossel, and you'll listen to us on Hot 99.9 FM radio station in Simpson Bay, or Facebook, YouTube, or TV Carib. So every year you have to have a report that's published, right? So what are some of the top complaints you've had so far?
Yes, I would like to highlight, so I already stated that Vromi had the highest. The next in line was the Ministry of TIAT.
Really?
And we had, based on a complaint actually filed against Vromi, we saw that there is interministerial cooperation necessary between the Ministry of TIAT and Vromi. And this is a very important aspect. We also had other complaints, information windows regarding garages that are operating without the necessary permits. We had a complaint. It was coincidentally, both complaints were regarding garages in Coal Bay, the area of Coal Bay. And based on our investigation, what we have identified is that oftentimes in one of the complaints, a building permit was issued for a building. Later on, we see that that building became commercial, and a garage was established. However, no hindrance permit was requested as yet.
So they're circumventing the law in a way.
Well, actually, this is what we try to identify. Hey, do you first issue a building permit, or do you find out, hey, what building is coming there? Are you going to have a business? Yeah. What type of business? Do you need a hindrance permit for this? That you first deal with a hindrance permit, especially if it's in a residential area.
Right.
You first deal with a hindrance permit, and then you give a building permit. But this was the other way around. So these are bottlenecks that we have identified. We have also identified with that the Ministry of TEAT and Vromi, where the business license inspection, that actually are the policy department, that they need to work together more. When we see that when a garage is opened, a business license is issued, but sometimes you don't know whether it is commercial, whether it was allowed to be there. We found out that with TIA, they have a policy where they won't issue a business license if you are situated in a residential area. But on the other hand, you have Vromi that does not issue a hindrance permit, or there's no hindrance permit, but allowing these garages to operate. What we have found out is that once the complaint came forward, enforcement was a problem too. For instance, we saw that what came to the surface as well is that these garages, and coincidentally the same two complaints with the garages, was that those garages have a business license to operate elsewhere than in Coal Bay. So that means to say that they were also not operating in accordance to the business licenses. So once that was identified, that means to say, hey, you need to order a business stop for this garage to continue to operate without a business license. And what we saw is that it is a very cumbersome path to enforce. It is the minister that ultimately decides on a building stop. And in one of the cases, it took the minister at least 2 months, while people are experiencing hinder, the fumes, the spraying that is going on. And it was a whole back and forth every time, asking TEAT, but also Vromi, the inspection department, to take actions to enforce. And what we have seen is that they are very limited. Well, they say they are very limited based again on capacity, staff, inspectors to do the work. Also the time frame. It seems that garages are spraying at night, so they don't have inspectors going out at night to inspect. And also we had a meeting with KPSM, so the police was also a part of a meeting that we held in this interministerial cooperative meeting that we held, where KPSM, based on their law, the APK de Openbare Orde, they could also enforce. But what we see that they are also very limited based on the fact that, for instance, they need to see the person in the act. Or another hindrance is that they don't have, for instance, the law also provide that you can seal the equipment or seal the building, but that they have nowhere to put the equipment if they confiscate or seize, the equipment that they, according to KPSM, that they don't have anywhere to place this equipment. So enforcement seems to be a problem also with Vromi. It is also actually ultimately the minister that decides to give the building stop. But what we have seen is that a stop order was issued, also a hindrance stop order, but they are still operating. In one case, they have stopped. In another case, they are still operating. And the business has requested a hindrance permit. But in the meantime, the public is experiencing the hinder from all of this. We have spoken to the ministries and we have said, hey, before you issue a business license or a hindrance permit, check with each other to see, hey, zoning, very important. Zoning, is it a commercial area? Is it for a garage?
Right.
Is it for a business? Because even with with a regular business, it seems that sometimes you have that it is in a commercial area. It was for, in a residential area, building permits was issued for residents, but then you see a business pops up in the midst, and you wonder, how can a business license be issued if it is residential? So there is a clash. Vromi is the one that decides the zoning. So the both ministries have to talk with each other as to what is that area. Is it zoned as a business or commercial? Residential or commercial?
Let me ask you this. You just go across the border, our neighbors on the French side. When you're going to build, you have to post what's going to be built there so that the people in the neighborhood know what's going on, and then they can complain about it. We here on the Dutch side, we just see construction start, people building, we don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, usually it happens that it's after the fact. And of course, we heard from both Tiat and Vromi that they're not in the closing down of business. That is not their aim. So they would allow them to still put in for the permit. But in the meantime, people are experiencing hinder from all of this. And a hindrance permit, it takes a long time for you to investigate, to do, you have to check the whole area, you have to check the people who live around in order to issue a hindrance permit. So that is something that I find that we really need to take serious. We have to ask ourselves, how do we want to see our country in the future? We have built up much more, and it cannot be that we have garages in the midst of residential areas. So that is something that needs to be looked at. So also, I would like to say for Tiat and the Ministry of Vromi to really work together, which we are trying with the meetings that we are having for them. The policies that are in place for the KPSM, the APK-keuring, is very old, which have that residential area is only Philipsburg. With that said, we have a situation with another complaint that has to do with Tiat, with animals, with this lady that has apartments and someone next to her has horses that are, the manure is right across and causing hinder, of course.
Who was there first, the horses or the neighbor?
Does it matter?
Well, in a way, yes. So I'm going to give you a little story here. Maurice the rooster in France. The city slickers came out in the country. Maurice won the case. They went to court in France because they felt that Maurice the rooster was making noise. And the court ruled, no, he was there first. It's okay for him to be there. If you don't like the noise, then go somewhere else. That's why I asked that question.
Right.
Because most of the times, I'm not going to build next to where a person have a horse.
Right. But okay, in this case, it is that there are rules and regulations to hold a horse. You have to have a space for them. The Ombudsman, the team of the Ombudsman went to have a look themselves with their own eyes to see what the situation was, where you see that those animals are malnourished, hardly anyone in the hot sun. That is not according to regulations to hold a horse. You need to have a good stable, so that is where the LFFA also comes in to look at.
So it doesn't matter who was there first.
If you are operating according to the law and you have them in order, you shouldn't have the manure all over the place. It should be, and you have to get rid of it somehow. It should not be in a way that you cause hinder.
Okay.
And this is a person that you have apartments, it is an income, and it is a serious situation because according to the police, it is very difficult for them to address this situation because they have nowhere to put these horses. Let's say they are against the law, they are operating against the law, but the question is, what are we going to do with these horses? Where are we going to put the horses? So as speaking, I can go and get a horse tomorrow and put it in my backyard. Nobody can say nothing because there's nowhere to put these horses. You have persons have cows, goats all over, and we no.
I know what Madam Ombudsman. I live in Bel Air. The property deed states specifically what you cannot do. We have a semi garage in Bel Air now, basically. And only now they're beginning to move a little bit of things. So Simon is a Wild West. A lot of things can happen. We have problems in Simpson Bay, where you have a restaurant that's throwing out all the grease and sewage on the ground. You go to the authorities, they don't come. Who are we supposed to go to then? The ombudsman? You know, the complaints are so many. And I'm not defending the person that owned the horses. I just use that as an example because we have all these problems. And they're now coming back to bite us because we didn't expect to have all this problem with all this growth on the small island.
That is true, but I think that we have to start somewhere.
I agree.
As the government, parliament, let's see where we want to go, where we want to be. It's the same with noise pollution, with the Simpson Bay area. What do we want for our island? Put it down, have the zoning, because this is another issue, is the zoning plan that is forever in draft. Never have they really sat down and say, okay, this is what we want for our island,
Right.
this commercial, this residential. And what we see is that if it is in their benefit, they would say, you cannot go there because that area is residential, or, but if it not benefit them, or in the other case, they will say, oh, it's just a draft, so you can't really stand on it. We have to have assurance. So the law need to be put in place. It is about time that you really have a zoning. That is something that is necessary for your country
I
to be
agree.
in order. That you know where is residential, where is commercial, where can you make noise, where not, where garages, etc. We need to have that in place by law.
But I want to come back to Simpson Bay. Because Simpson Bay, I was born here, grew up, lived here all my life. Very quiet, sleepy little town. Just an airport, people living, fishermen doing what they have to do. Look at Simpson Bay today.
Yeah.
Simpson Bay today is more activity than Phillipsburg. That is the capital. Simpson Bay is like the unofficial capital of Dutch St. Martin.
It is.
In the meantime,
Yeah.
the people from Simpson Bay are suffering from noise pollution.
That is true. That is true. That's a fact. That's why it is so important and critical to have a look. What do we want? We are seeing that here is, it's picking up for tourism more than Phillipsburg. But then you have to still make a plan, see which areas you really want to have with noise, and do something for those that are living in those areas. Try to make it maybe indoor, where you cannot hear the noise outside. There are various ways and means to build a club or whatever, where you cannot hear the music
Right.
out loud, because noise travels. So we have to make up our mind that, hey, we don't want to be a banana republic. We want to have order. We want to cater to our residents, but also to our tourists. But you have to have something in place.
So all of it's going to be in your report. That's going to be published soon.
With
Yeah.
the residential areas.
Yeah.
No, actually, these issues came up from complaints that we have. We have had meetings with Teat and Vromi, and we will continue with them, and of course press upon them, and we will inform Parliament of the bottlenecks, and
You
of
make
course
recommendations too?
in those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are really working. We had 2 meetings, interministerial meetings. I am happy that they showed up and they are willing. They have shown their willingness, the ministries, to work together. But it comes down to still the policies, the laws, the zoning that really we have to decide what we want and just work towards that. and not be all over the place.
You know, I smile when I listen to you because I know you mean well. But, you know, we have a problem in Simran. And this is the reason why we have the cohort soon too. Because we will say to your face, oh, Madam Ombudsman, we are going to do everything. We're going to work together. We're going to make things happen. And then days pass, and weeks pass, and months pass, and years pass, and nothing happened. That is our biggest problem. And as quick as someone steps in and says, okay, I'm going to do it, and this is how I'm going to do it, we scream. We make noise.
I don't know if that is the case, you know.
But that's the case because if you look at the government of Simran over the years, that is exactly the case. Every time they meet with the Dutch government, they promised they were going to do something. They never did it. And today now the Dutch government is doing what we should have done for ourselves. And I used to work for the government. I was head of the Government Information Service for 10 years. So I know how it operates. This has been a problem going on in government long before I got there and long after I got there, where they make promises and nothing happens. I can understand how you feel, and you don't want to make them feel bad because they promise you that they're going to do work together. But I can bet you $1, they're not going to.
Well, I with the cohort, that's a whole different,
I give that
topic.
as an example of
But
how we are.
if you want to go there, then I would say, hey, listen, we're talking about capacity problems.
There
If
we
you
go
look
again.
we started the Netherlands, they start with the CFT, then came the Integrity Chamber, then came the World Bank with the NRPB. All these organizations need capacity. You need persons to fill these spots. So you have the Integrity Chamber, you have the NRPB, and the reason why, for instance, with our home repair report that we had, we realized, hey, because of the lack of capacity and expertise, we are still 4 years later where they are fixing schools. So many homes, people that needed the urgent help did not get the help. The World Bank was definitely not the right institution for this and they knew it, lack of capacity. Now you're coming with another one, which is a cohort, where they are recruiting people from government, where we already don't have to come to go and work in the cohort. So my thing is you need to look to see, hey, what is the real issue here? And take the bull by the horn, because if we continue that way, we are having different organizations everywhere and not doing anything at the end of the day.
Let me tell you, 1990, 91, 92, somewhere there, the Dutch government brought in a number of experts to the tax office. And at the time, we brought them on this program also. They came on, they was very excited, they were going to help the community, explain to people how to file their taxes. Everything was going to go great. We in 2022?
2022.
Yeah. Nothing really did happen. We have the same problem, the same complaints, the taxes. And you see, Madam Ombudsman, that's what I tell you. From experience, maybe the other people who do interviews in Simran are different than I am. I've been around for a while. I've been in broadcasting for more than 40 years, 45 years to be exact. I know what's going on in Simran. And I tell you this, even with the cohort, unfortunately, I think that too is going to fail. Because in the end, Simran had higher supervision. And guess what? Nothing happened. So nothing is happening.
That is exactly what I'm saying. We have to learn from our previous. You look back at everything that they try to do, we are still and every time is in a different form. And another thing that I would say, it is always forced upon government to do. It is not willingly. If you are doing something willingly, it will work better. We can work together than if you have something by force. So I think that is also something that is important to look at. If you look at it at the end of the day, the Netherlands want to achieve a certain goal, but with seeing the Integrity Chamber, NRPB, and all the World Bank, now they want to have. I see that the people are suffering more than what they really want to touch on. They find that corruption, government is not doing what they have to do, but in the way that they want to try to fix it, you are seeing that actually you are hurting the people.
The people that you want to help. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I find that you have to come around the table and see what are we busy with, what do we really want to achieve, and can we achieve it? Because you come in with a cohort, like I told you, lack of capacity. You're gonna bring this. You taking people from the government to man this cohort. We're not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it. We are struggling in government as we speak with lack of capacity. How are we gonna do it? So you have to calculate before jumping into things. It's just like with the cost-cutting measures. There was no onderzoek, nothing was done to investigate if and how it would affect the public if we do it. Only after you see, hey, but it is not really working. If you look at the government-owned companies, they are taking in the monies, but
have 40 seconds remaining.
Okay, the money stays in the company, and who suffers is the working class, the workers.
Well, it's always a pleasure having you. 30 seconds in closing. Anything else you want to add?
Yes. Well, as Ombudsman, we will continue to do our work with our team of 6. Thank you, team. Proud of you. We will continue to do what we have to do, and I really hope, for the sake of the people, that Parliament does their due diligence to keep the democratic system going.
Well, Madam Ombudsman, I want to thank you for being my guest. Simran is proud of you. You're doing a remarkable job given the circumstances that we're under, so we really appreciate it, and thank you for coming. All right?
Thank you.
And that's it for now. I'll see you next time right here on Oral Gibbs Live. Until then, take care. Bye.